How's it going, guys? Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. In this episode, I'm going to give you as many tips as I can for building a squad on Football Manager. If this is the first time you are watching a video on the channel, please do remember to subscribe, press the like button, and of course, leave your comments below. My first tip on this topic, and it's an area that you can unfortunately get a little bit wrapped up into when you're building a squad, but it's really important to make sure that your squad is not absolutely massive in terms of having loads of players. And of course, it's a really good idea to make sure that your squad does not have too few players. Of course, if you have too many players in your squad, it's going to be very difficult to give all of your players decent amount of game time. Also, a lot of your players can start to become unhappy as well. Just thinking about Pep Guardiola maybe at Man City, imagine the job that he's got on his hands of trying to keep all of them players happy that he's got in his squad. Of course, there's going to be players that are going to be missing out. For example, Joe Hart has needed to be loaned out to Torino just recently, and of course you've got other players as well that are not going to be too happy with only playing a limited amount of game time. So my first tip really is just to make sure that you've got enough players in your squad. Of course, you do need a decent mix of young and old players, but if you do have cover for at least every single position on the pitch, then that should, in theory, be enough players for your team. My second tip is to make sure that you're taking a look at the age of the players that you've got in your team. It's very easy when playing Football Manager to sign a lot of young players, and you tend to sort of ignore some of the older players. I've recently made a video having a look at the ways that you can make the most out of your older players, and of course using your older players for things such as tutoring and their experience is always going to be an important thing to do. So when you are building your squad, do make sure that you've got enough players that are young enough coming through the team so that you've not got loads of players that are going to be retiring pretty soon, and make sure that you do have some older players in your squad who might be good tutors. It's definitely a good mixture to have some younger players for that youth. Make sure that your squad age is quite young, but also you do need that experience in there as well, just to make sure that you have got tutors and some experience. My third tip is to make sure that you're having a look at the contract length of each player. When you sometimes start off as at a lower league club, which I do like to do so myself, when the club starts to get a little bit bigger, you can sometimes offer contracts to players where they're a little bit longer. Of course, when you're growing your team and you're sort of developing as a club, it can be, there's going to be quite a lot of players basically that are likely to leave your club. You might have a player, for example, when you get to the championship level in English leagues who is good enough for the championship, but maybe not good enough for the Premier League. The player who you were using at championship level, if you ended up signing him onto a contract that's about 3 or 4 years long, he might be sitting in your team for that amount of time and you might not be able to get rid of the player. So really do think about the direction that your club is going in and make sure that you're having a look at the contract length that you're giving to each player. My fourth and final tip is to make sure that you're trying to build a little bit of stability in your team. Like I mentioned earlier about having more experienced players and some younger players, it's certainly a good idea to have some players that have come through your academy so that they're really familiar with the club. Of course, when you do have players at your club for quite a long time, they do end up liking each other as their favourite personnel. Of course, that's a really good way to build your team and something that you should be striving towards. Of course, if you're selling a lot of players, bringing in loads of new players, that's going to be quite hard to do. So I know it can be tempting when you are managing a club to make lots and lots of transfers and have loads of different new players coming into the team, but it is important that you do have some players in your team, especially players that are likely to be in your starting 11. Make sure that you're only selling players if you absolutely need to. My number one tip actually, guys, when you are looking to sign new players, don't just go out and buy any old player just because he looks quite decent. It's a very good idea, and it can actually end up saving you a lot of money to only be buying players that you actually need in your team. It's a very good idea to have a look at your squad depth and always improve the weakest area of your team. So it can obviously be quite tempting just to go out and sign a really fast winger, but if your club has already got about 3 or 4 decent wingers, then do you really need to sign that winger? If you have a look at your squad depth and you see that you might be lacking maybe a left back, I would really recommend that you look at buying a new left back for your team just to make sure that you're improving the weakest area of your team. Okay, yeah, so that's the end of the video, and they were my top tips for making sure that you're building your squad in the right way on Football Manager. As I mentioned at the beginning, please do remember to drop a like on the video, it really does help the channel. Please remember to subscribe if you've not already done so, and of course leave your comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll be back soon for some more Football Manager videos.